Hello, Alchemist. What message do you need to hear today? If you've already chosen your card, check the timestamps below. If not, I'm going to give you a closer look. Doorway number 1. We have an anchor in the desert. Doorway number 2. We have a snail that looks like it's going to climb a stairway up to the sky. Doorway number 3. We have a castle in the clouds held up by a balloon. Choose your doorway, Alchemist, and let's begin the great work. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 1. What message do you need to hear today? So here we have this anchor in the desert, and the first impression I get by this card is obviously a feeling of like, look at that, just popping out of there from a different deck. A feeling of a little bit of desolation. Maybe a sadness, maybe feeling like you are in a situation, whether it's a relationship or just an inner issue that makes you feel really, really, honestly, unmoored, or like you're moored, or almost like you're tied down in a place that doesn't feed your soul, right? Tied down in a situation that makes you feel barren and stuff. So see, like you're anchored there. But what you can't see, what's missing from this card is what it's connected to, right? Like there's a ship up in the sky. And, that gives me the feeling of that's your true self, right? That's your true soul, is that ship, but you're anchored right now in the desert. See why I pulled month of the year, August. All right, so look for something like some kind of big change coming in August. It wouldn't surprise me if like maybe you were pulling up your anchor at that time. Like you might be getting to a point where you can no longer ignore the fact of how much this barrenness hurts when all you have to do is pull up that anchor and be floating through the clouds on your, sky ship. All right, we have word spread fast, gossip. And slow and steady, patience is key. Okay, so I think that there's been a lot of worry of what other people will think if you're not playing this certain role, right? There's I have my Cosmic Jester deck. And one of the cards in it says something like, self-sacrifice is not a personality type. There's no rewards. There's no awards, rewards. There's no trophy for sacrificing your joy and your happiness and not being your full, vibrant, joyous self, right? So don't worry, what other people say can affect you in your life insofar as how much you internalize it, right? And then we have slow and steady, patience is the key. We have this Fibonacci sequence in this kind of nautilus shell of the snail, which is interesting because doorway number 2 is a snail. So if you felt called to that one, you might want to look at doorway number 2 as well. So snails are, slow and steady wins the race. Patience is key. You've been very patient, right? You've listened to what people said. I feel like August is a turning point, whether that turning point is you realizing what changes you need to make, or whether that's you actually making the changes, to lift that anchor and get moving. So we have opportunities in reverse and coexistence in reverse. Overdependence or blurred boundaries may be causing you to lose your sense of self in the relationship. It's time to reclaim personal space and independence. That goes right along, right? Losing yourself. And this says in a relationship, so it could be, but it could also be in a certain identity and a job. You may be overlooking valuable opportunities or hesitating in seizing them, leading to missed chances for growth with opportunities in reverse. So yeah, the situation is just a real energy drain. It's probably, you can probably even feel the weight in your body, right? Your message is to pay attention to this, to not ignore what your body is trying to tell you. It's really easy. You already know what this is. You already know what this is about. You already know what this feeling is, what the situation is. There's no guessing game for you. You know exactly what it is. It's just that you've had a really hard time accepting the implications of what it means, right? Joyous. Think about your ship sailing up in the sky, right? Think of your ship sailing up in the sky. That joyfulness, that peace, that's where you belong. That's where your soul belongs. And there's no need to continue staying in the mindset that you are stuck in a barren, deserted place. You know, we all get there. We all feel that way. Sometimes I know I've been through that a million times, realizing that I was the one not pulling my anchor up. There were external situations and people that were influencing and making things harder, but I was still choosing to stay associated. I was still choosing. And of course, here, there's no manifest shaming or spiritual bypassing or blame or shame or anything like that. In some situations, obviously, this does not apply, right? Sometimes it's completely out of your control, but sometimes we choose our own anchors. We choose our own anchors. We choose our own prisons. I really like this card. It's kind of like, it's got a surrender kind of energy. This is like a mosquito. It's got kind of butterfly wings, but I think it's supposed to be a mosquito with that. And she's just laying there like, okay, kind of woe is me, right? You might be dealing with a person, a situation in that kind of energy, or you might feel that kind of energy yourself. All right, let's see what Tarot has to say, kind of expand on this. Alrighty. 7 of Pentacles. Yeah, you've been working through this for a long time. This is no surprise to you. This message is just an affirmation, a confirmation. King of Swords. You've been actually already working through this mentally for a while. You know, it just takes a while for your emotions, your mind, and your body and stuff to integrate it. 6 of Cups. You know, with the 6 of Cups, the feeling of nostalgia of what was, of what could be. This is the anchor, right? So if it's a job or a relationship or a situation, you remember some of the good times. You remember the good times, and you dream of that again, and you're seeing it through that lens. It's almost like looking through that mirror, right? Queen of Pentacles, but being invited into this energy of self-sovereignty, even if it's extremely painful at first. Yeah. But it's an opportunity that has to be grasped, right? You have to pull into and pull up the energy, the passion for your life, for yourself. And, you know, aces are all about opportunities that you have to take. And this one, you see there's like a briar patch, so it kind of mirrors this sort of feeling of desolation. But the difference is that you can, with this being a wand, you can burn away. You can burn away that briar patch. So here the heat is a restriction. Here fire can burn and clear the way for you, leading to new opportunities and abundance. Well, I'm just shedding everywhere, I guess. Oh, well, I'm human, whatever. So with the 6 of Pentacles energy, we're definitely getting this transmutation leading to you to a more abundant and joyous place. But it is a very heavy energy, like an anchor, right? Like an anchor. Yeah, look at that 10 of Swords, kind of the feeling of being at the rock bottom. Wheel of Fortune, followed by Knight of Wands. There's probably a new person coming into your life. Don't get sidetracked, but that doesn't mean that they won't be, you know, something that's helpful or good for your life. You just don't want to get sidetracked. I was trying to find, you know, sometimes I am just all over the place. But I wanted to find, here they are, some angel cards to give you a little bit of almost like, not exactly an affirmation, but some advice here at the end. So your message is, you are seen, right? You already know that you've been feeling this weight for a long time. And you are ready to let go of it. And this is just your confirmation that the wheel is turning in your favor, that you're ready for a fresh start to move ahead, and that you're going to use your passion to get out of this feeling of rock bottom or this feeling of being trapped. 111, intuition. Yep, use your intuition. You already knew what this whole situation is. You already felt it. You already felt that you wanted to lift that anchor and close out this certain situation. It's just been really hard to accept because of that nostalgia piece of it, right? Oh, if I just will myself enough, I can make it work. Divine guidance flows through you with increasing clarity. See, increasing clarity. But like any sacred instrument, your intuition sharpens with practice and attention. Listen closely, for the veil is thinner than you imagine. Be looking out for 111 over the next few weeks. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Alchemist, and I will see you next time. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 2. What message do you need to hear today? And Snail did come up in doorway number 1, so if that doorway looked like it resonated with you, check that out as well. So we have Snail here, and so with the, I always think with the snails, it's like the Nautilus or the Fibonacci sequence or the, so this spiral kind of mimicking the spiral up to the spiral staircase up to the sky that the snail is going to. So I think the divine ratio. And so when the snail is moving very slowly on this stairway to, you know, the divine or upward spiritually, the idea is to remind you that movement, even if it's one little bitty tiny step at a time, is enough. You don't have to rush to the top. There's no top. You can't even see the top there, right? There is no top. So if you get into the mindset of always rushing, you forget to enjoy the view. There is no, you know, honestly, I feel like things like capitalism and the productivity wound on a mass scale causes people to feel like even the spiritual journey is a journey of needing to be the best and get to the top and get to the end. There is no end, right? There is no end when it comes to the spiritual journey. It is just, you know, just like life, you just keep living it every day. You just keep living it. You know, what we project onto it affects our quality of life, right? What we project on our spiritual journey is, how do I put this? So what we project on our spiritual journey shapes whether the spiritual journey is a thing that is eye-opening and delightful and abundant, or whether it is that we get stuck in a wound of like pain for growth, I guess. I'm not saying that quite as clearly as I wished I could, but basically the idea that suffering is going to bring you closer to spirituality, whereas really it's more like life is going to put suffering on your path. How do you deal with it? You're not seeking out extra suffering, right? You're just going to say, you know what? I'm going to take it slow. Slow and steady wins the race. I'm going to make my way up and I'm going to enjoy the view. Because think about how nice the view probably is, even just part way up. And you know what? In some ways, if you get too far up there, there's no view at all. So, and in the Tree of Life, we always talk about circulation. You're not supposed to just live up in the unmanifest or just here. You're supposed to be circulating through, both enjoying all aspects of life. You manifested here as a human. Why not enjoy the human experience while you're here? The good, the bad, the ugly. Rumi and Hafez say it over and over again. We aren't here to chase good experiences. We are here to experience, period. Right? And how can you, and Alan Watts talks about how can you experience joy without understanding what heartache feels like. Now, so we run from that. And once again, I'm not saying seek it out, but when it hits, instead of shoving it away, feel it, let it express itself without judgment, without adding an extra story, right? Celebration. Enjoy your victories with others. And this leads to an inner feeling of, wow, I am so ecstatic about my life. It doesn't matter how simple or elaborate it is. I'm so ecstatic about my life, right? I'm stopping to listen to the bells, to hear the view. Bells are used to kind of clear out negative energy. It is really powerful, like sound. So if you're called to do a sound bath, like a Tibetan bowls or tuning forks, or even just ringing a bell, it can be such a powerful thing to kind of like wake up, wake up from this manufactured idea of that productivity or anything has to be applied to your spiritual life. It's all false scarcity. It's all FOMO, right? Tranquility. Yeah, look at all these peaceful images of just finding peace. Here with the moon in its different phases, it's showing, don't punish yourself or feel regret for the times in the past where maybe you rushed through things. I remember when I was younger, when I would travel, I would be like, oh, I might never be in Paris again or whatever. And so I would like take a bazillion pictures, and then I would be like, we're going to 12 museums today. And of course, how can I actually enjoy and be in that space? How can I be in that moment if I'm too worried about missing the moment that I'm in or forgetting it? And so now when I travel, I plan like 1 to 2 things a day tops. And when I get to a certain place, I take like 5 to 10 pictures, and then I put my phone or camera away or whatever, and I just live in the moment. And that's what this is saying. Don't punish yourself for the past when you may have been rushing or thinking you needed to get to a certain place. The message is life is cyclical. It's okay that you were in that cycle then and you're in this cycle now. Appreciate which part of the cycle you are in. Look at that. To me, there's just so much like abundance and tranquility in this. I know this is kind of a weird image. She's got all these like pieces of red candy pouring out of her dress, and she's feeding this little white deer. And I just get the feeling of like giving back the sweetness of life. When you get the sweetness of life back, that sweetness of life pours from you, and other people see it and feel it, and it improves their life. Teamwork. Collaboration and teamwork are key to achieving your goals. You work well with others, respecting and supporting each other, and that is upright. So getting the feeling that you've done a lot of inner work and you're ready to turn outward, right? Ready to turn outward and give back. And what that looks like can mean a million different things. It depends on, like, for example, this is how I give back. This is one of the ways that I give back is by, doing free shadow work tarot for people. And so it could be a million different things. You could be like to volunteer. You could just be a person who shows up for the people that you love when they need you. There's a million. Rumi says something along the lines like there's 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. So there's 1,000 ways to, make the world more beautiful. And, the Dalai Lama says that your goal is to either have a neutral or positive effect on the world. So you don't have to feel like you have to, you don't have to be Gandhi or whatever. You can just be you. Just try to have a neutral to positive effect. Tower energy there. And remember, this is all representing what happens after the tower moment. The tower is the clarity. The tower is people get scared of it. It is destruction, but really Tower is clearing out. It's like the Moldavite, you know, that stone Moldavite that like, once you get it, it's like a karmic rebalancer, like, clears out your, or like basically any illusions that you're holding on to your life, it self-destructs them, right? And it's like, oh, you can't blind yourself to that anymore. Ha 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 ha. I have a Moldavite and it really does its thing. I don't know if it's coincidental that my life imploded at the same time, but just saying. Our lives have a series of Tower moments. And so the idea is, how do we react when they do happen? If you're in this energy afterwards, you're going to be right as rain. Look at that. There's so much going on. You know, on the emotional plane underneath the surface, but it's coming to a sort of tranquility, like in the sense of like you're coming to peace with the fact of the tumultuousness. So it's sort of like if your emotions are an ocean and you look calm on the surface. In the past, you might have looked like a raging sea, but now you look calmer on the surface, but you know all that stuff is still going on underneath and you're not ignoring it. You're looking at it from a different angle and being like, you know what? Sometimes my sea is calm above and below. Sometimes it's raging above and below. And sometimes it's calm above and raging below. And I accept whatever step that's in. And I'm not going to try and control it. And I'm not going to try to judge it. I'm going to let it run its course. Now, of course, that doesn't mean hurt yourself or anybody else emotionally or whatever. But what it means is that you're allowed to accept the changing tides of life, right? 9 of Cups. King of Swords also showed up in doorway number 1, as well as Wheel of Fortune in doorway number 1. Yeah, there's a tight connection. I knew there would be because there was a snail in doorway number 1. Okay, so yeah, this is just a big change, and it's going to feel like almost like a 180, right? You have done the work. You have become more strong on your boundaries. When people come at you with their BS, you're able to see through it and cut through it. And so much of the things in your past, you know, I'm not seeing a lot of external. This is a really internal journey that we're talking about today for you. Obviously, there's external stuff, but you've realized that the external stuff is a mirror of the internal stuff, right? So, let's see. We're going to pull one angel card just to get a little bit of last minute advice, but I feel this energy. I'm claiming this energy. This is really nice. Take it slow. Give back to yourself. Give back to your community. I said in the first pile that it's important to remember that self-sacrifice is not a personality type. So that's not what this means, right? This is giving when you have abundance. Give to yourself first, and then when you're full, you can give in abundance. And that goes back to this idea of this 9 of Cups energy. Hope. No matter how heavy the moment feels, trust that this too shall pass. Your angels surround you with love and assurance, reminding you that change is truly possible. It can feel like 2 steps forward and 1 step back a lot, right? In this kind of energy. Because here we have the cyclical energy of almost like a spiritual awakening. And with spiritual awakening comes the feeling and the understanding that you are actually still very asleep to the next, thing. And so it is this kind of cycle of tower. And notice how this tower and this, they're like mirrors, right? One of them destroys you and one of them takes you somewhere. So being at peace with that cycle. Having hope even when things get very heavy. Knowing that the cycle will return to, the wheel turns again and again. You're not trapped in one thing. You're not trapped in the 10 of Swords energy. You are going to go through that cycle where your tower transmutes from this to this. And that's going to happen over and over again. It's just the cyclical nature of life, right? Well, this is the message I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here, Alchemist, and continue the great work. I'll see you next time. Hello, Alchemist, and welcome to your initiation through doorway number 3. What message do you need to hear right now? You chose this card. It's like a castle floating in the sky on a cloud. And I feel like all 3 piles are really, really intertwined today. So if you felt called to either of the other piles, please go take a look. And the reason is that the very first pile was an image of an anchor that was dropped in the desert. So the feeling is that there's an invisible ship or something up in the air that has been anchored in a barren place. And if you could pull that anchor up, you know, you could float away. And so I'm getting different energies from this. Number one, I'm getting a kind of a, you call it 7 of Cups energy, which is the idea of like having a lot of dreams and options and like, oh, this thing could be and that could be. So being like very much sometimes living in potential or what could be. But I'm also getting sort of like, oh, the freedom that I can feel, that you can feel when you're able to let go of your burdens and take your castle up to the sky, right? Lighten your load. Feel the awe and joy of lightness again, right? Unbind yourself. Let yourself lift up. And of course, there's always a little side warning of don't get your head so stuck in the clouds, right? And that goes back to that 7 of Cups energy, which says that basically if you're living only in your head, if you're living only in potential, you forget to live in the here and now, right? We have meditate. Yeah, so take some time to really focus on not just meditating in your mind. We really think of meditating as a mind thing, but make sure you're focusing on your breath and maybe doing those meditations like the ones where you are really like 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, da 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 da. So, or just where you're looking around the room and really taking in like, oh, here's a bottle of tears. And then you're just really looking at, oh, look at this little thing here. And just really, oh, it feels this way. You know, it looks that way. It smells this way, whatever. Just really bringing yourself back into your body, grounded, right? Wait, how did I pull this up? Okay, boundaries. Boundaries are blurred or being overstepped, leaving you feeling overwhelmed or drained. It's time to reinforce your limits. Okay, with boundaries on this, there could also be there's also the message that because you struggle to hold boundaries, sometimes you might put yourself out of reach. You might avoid situations or certain people. You might feel like a lot of weight. And so you use kind of, not spiritual bypassing, but like, kind of like avoidance, I guess, to step away from this heavy or scary situation rather than deal with it. You're like, oh, I'm just going to float away in my imagination. We all do it for sure. Yeah, look at that. What was I just saying? She's reading here and there's this kind of this ominous bunny and the shadow is over her, right? So the idea is that you know that it's there. You know you need to deal with it. But you're like, no, I'm going to do this other thing instead. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to read. I'm going to just pretend that that didn't happen. Stuff doesn't magically disappear when, you know, you pretend it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It doesn't mean that, it just means that it takes a while of facing things and dealing with things to be able to grow the tools to face things directly on a regular basis. Until then, it's okay. Be gentle with yourself. You do need that time, right? You do need this time. Just make sure not to get lost in it at the expense of living in the present moment as well. Intuition. Listen to your inner voice. You already know. I always say this all the time. I'm just here to validate you, right? You already know this. This has already been wiggling around in your brain, wiggling around in your subconscious. You already know. You're like, oh, I know I'm doing this thing too much, or I'm not doing this, or I'm avoiding this conversation. So your message is to just, you know, one of the things that happens is that we can build stuff up so much in our heads. And then when we actually do the real thing, it's really not nearly as bad as we thought. Or we don't know what we don't know. The full energy. We don't know what we don't know. The full is the unmanifest, right? Knight of Pentacles. Alrighty. Strength. You feel like you've been pulling from a well of inner strength. A lot of Knight energy here. So impulsiveness I'm feeling. You've been pulling from your inner strength, but in a way that how you're draining it, rather than in a way that replenishes itself constantly, right? And that's what you need to be. That's part of the transmutation, is learning how to pour in a way that you're getting poured back into as well, right? And that's where boundaries are really important. And boundaries are not just for other people. Boundaries are for yourself too. In the sense of, you have to give yourself boundaries and parameters, right? You can still be a free, wild, feral spirit and still make sure that you're holding boundaries with yourself. Easier said than done. Remember, this is a work in progress. It's practice. Don't be hard on yourself. You're just doing the best you can. But you are moving forward. You have this image of, this reminds me of kind of like the river Styx. The idea of crossing over from one reality to another reality. And when you do that, it is such a shakeup. You do want to escape. You can be frustrated with yourself about like, oh, how did I ignore this so long? Or how can I have not seen this? It's okay. We're all just human, right? Or we're all just souls hanging out in these meat suits, right? But ending off there with a Four of Wands, really great communal family energy, joyful energy. And you got 2 angel cards today. So let's see what they have to say. Oh my goodness. How do I keep doing this? This one is not an angel card. This is from the Shadow Fates Oracle. But look at that sun. Vitality, radiance, enlightenment, and the power of positive thinking. Yeah, so once you face all this, there's going to be a big transmutation. And your strength is going to become something that feeds you rather than something that you drain completely. Especially the sun up against the Four of Wands. Four of Wands, celebration, family, joy, hope again, right? Doing this work is actually going to open up a huge door piece for you. Look at that. Blessed. Come on. I'm like claiming this. I'm like claiming all the piles, apparently. You are surrounded by divine favor, blessed in ways seen and unseen. Remember that unseen part. Know that you are cherished and supported by a higher power, and step forward with unwavering faith. The Sufi mystics are always talking about the beloved. The beloved is that divine energy, the love that just flows through. And I say this in my videos a lot, but there's a meditation I do where I sit and I just fill my heart open, and I say my heart is an open, empty space where love flows through like water from the unending source. And sometimes clearing away all obstacles. And so sometimes I'll do that and I'll be like, oh, I am all jammed up in there. And sometimes it flows through and then it feels really, really amazing. And this is actually interesting. This reminds me of, there's a meditation called Liquid Luck. And I did the meditation like once from the, I bought it and did it or whatever. But what I did is actually like changed it because I do Gateway as well. And so like in Gateway, all of my stuff when I do Gateway is in a library. I was a librarian. So I have this beautiful mental library that I go to. And in the center of this library is something that is actually this color. And it looks a lot like this. And this is a pretty new deck. I haven't seen all the cards and I had not seen this one. But I've been doing Gateway for years. It looks very similar to this. It is just blue light pouring. And I see that as sort of like Reiki, or like the endless light of the divine flowing. And in it is this beautiful bottle. And in my meditation, I'll go and I'll just see all like the blessings and abundance and stuff pouring into this bottle. And it pours there 24/7 whether I'm in my library or not, right? And so every time I go into this meditation, I go over there and I pour myself a nice big cup of Liquid Luck. And I take a drink of it and just remember to laugh. Remember that the absurdity of life. Remember that taking things so seriously can be part of the game too, but don't forget to be lighthearted about it. Rumi says, this world is a dream. Only the sleeper considers it real. And then you awake like dawn, laughing at what you thought was your grief. I could have the words off a little bit, but something, along those lines. It's called The Dream That Must Be Interpreted if you want to read the whole poem. So anyway, you are blessed. There's a lot of light and joy coming your way. So just some advice to help you transmute that last bit that you already know you're working through. So this kind of energy right here. Use your intuition. Hold your boundaries. You got this, Alchemist. Continue the great work, and I will see you next time.